Resuming once again, no schools until the 14th of April. The government school sports, that is off. New Providence Primary School Track and Field Championship, they were scheduled for this weekend. That is off. The Providence Basketball Association, they were in the middle of their playoffs. That is being bounced. The Providence Women's Basketball Association, they were scheduled to start their championship Wednesday. That too has been put back. Junior Baseball League of Nassau, the latest to suspend their season. All international team travel also suspended. Bahamas Olympic Committee issuing a statement on sports. Amajal Knowles with that.
Well, all local sporting leagues have been mandated to cease play. This on the revelation of the Bahamas' first confirmed case of the COVID-19. The virus has caused a global pandemic throughout the world over the past few weeks. In a statement from the country's premier athletic body, the Bahamas Olympic Committee, it urges all federations to suspend play pending further information by the government. We hear the Dennis Toll sports team caught up with the BOC Secretary General Deron Donaldson, and he reiterated that position.
Basically, we just want to make sure that everyone's taking the necessary precaution and being safe. And at sporting events, we know everyone gathers, everyone's shaking hands, high-fiving, passing equipment. It's so many different variables. If there's a ball involved, you're passing that ball, and we just have to be so careful. And the safety of athletes, fans, spectators, coaches is priority for us. Athletes that are of course reaching out to us about what's going to happen with the Olympic Games. I understand the Carifta situation. Of course, we've been in contact with the B3As and also aquatics, and it is devastating to the athletes that have trained. Maybe it's their last year, and they do feel sad about it, but their safety is priority, because there'll always be another Carifta, there'll always be another meet, another sporting event to compete in, but we just want to express that everyone should take this seriously.
Donaldson also indicating that he has spoken with athletes overseas that may be in affected areas and offered them these words of advice.
Would definitely ask them to reach out to their federations, keep in contact with what's going on at home to see if they can come home. Of course, you don't want to be in a foreign land away from home, locked down. You'd rather, I'm sure, be at home. So yes, we've heard of cases where some athletes did return. Some are still abroad, and we're asking them to not follow social media, but to look at the proper vetted sites, the Ministry of Health, proper reputable news stations, and not social media, because that can be dangerous. So they should know if there's a ban on how they can travel back home or not in the area of the world that they're in. So follow reputable sources, not social media.
Now, with the recent postponement of the 2020 Carifta Games, a lot is still up in the air, with several major sporting events on the calendar in 2020. But as far as the granddaddy of them all, the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, the BOC has been in correspondence with Olympic officials on the event status, which is still several months away.
They send us an update every day, at least every working day. So Friday we would have received the last update. Nothing's changed since then. Friday they would have also, or Thursday they would have lit the Olympic flame in Olympia, Greece, but they condensed that event. Usually it's a lot of people there when they host that. That's actually the signal of the start of the road to Tokyo 2020, or any Olympic host city at that. But they too had to just really downsize the crowd, I think, to 100 people, accredited guests at the most. And so you see they're taking the necessary precautions. As for the games itself, we're following their lead, because they're in direct contact with the World Health Organization. Just like here, we're following the Ministry of Health's lead here, and so that's all we can do right now. It's a wait and see. It is 18 weeks out.
There is still a lot to be determined as it relates to sports, not only in the country but around the world. Hopefully the picture becomes much clearer over the upcoming days. For Dennis Toll Sports, I'm Amajal Knowles.
Now, the International Olympic Committee has planned an emergency meeting for Tuesday morning to discuss matters for the upcoming Olympics. But joining us in the studio this morning is the president of NACAC. Mr. Mike Sanchez recently had a conference call with those in Monaco about the Tokyo Games, but he's talking about the Carifta Track and Field Championships this morning. A quick decision last week by the NACAC board and member federations.
Yes, Charles. These are unprecedented challenges for sports, as we all know. And obviously, the NACAC board had to make a decision with respect to Carifta Games, because Carifta Games were scheduled for the Easter weekend. And just to not keep our members in suspense, we came to a conclusion, and rightfully so, that we would suspend the Carifta Games until further notice, given the situation that the world is now facing.
What was the reaction among the member countries?
Every member federation, or 35 of them, thought it was the right decision, and so we felt very good about that because we did not want to be reactive. We decided to be proactive because at the end of the day, whether we did it or not, chances are, as they are unfolding, that countries would not send their athletes in any event. So we feel very comfortable that we took the right decision in a proactive manner.
When we are seeing the domino effect. The Florida Relays is being cancelled. Jamaica Boys and Girls Champs have been cancelled. Carifta Trials have also been cancelled. So it is trickling among.
The truth of the matter is, I mean, everything is being postponed. I wouldn't say cancel, I'd say postponed, because at the end of the day, you know, this will pass at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, and then we can get back to normalcy with our lives.
Now, the big question is those meets that are in Europe for our senior athletes, also the Olympics on the horizon. What is NACAC, as you remember, also of the IAAF?
Well, right now, as I said, everything pretty much is put on hold. As a matter of fact, there is another emergency conference call tomorrow with the head office in Monaco, and I'm sure this is the topic of discussion. And so the whole world have to make a readjustment to our lives. I mean, sports is no exception, and so we all have to come together and for the betterment of all our stakeholders, which is everybody in our lives.
If the Carifta Games are to be held later on this year, is it a possibility?
As I've said to the members, that, you know, once this is all said and done, we will take a look at alternative dates. And Charles, this gives us an opportunity to really revisit the scheduling of Carifta, because there's been questions a long time ago as to why was it held so early, which is the Easter weekend. And there are a number of reasons for that. Obviously, the first one is the fact that it's a common holiday throughout the region. All of the countries, you know, celebrate Easter weekend, so it did not impact very much. But then now, because we had to postpone it, it's going to give us an opportunity to take a look at where it would fit in the calendar later on in the year. I've already asked the director of competitions for NACAC to take a look at some alternate days and to see where we'll have it fit. It would be good to have it at the end of regular track and field season for junior athletes. So out of this, some good will come, I'm sure.
And speaking about some good coming out of bad situation, the NCAA, they were just finished with the indoor track and field season, getting ready to start the outdoor track and field season. Our athletes were gearing up. Now we're hearing that the NCAA might give them another year of eligibility.
I think that's one of the better decisions NCAA have made in its recent history, to not deny the athletes an opportunity to have another year of eligibility. As you know, you normally have 5 years to complete 4 years in any event, and so those athletes that may have a little injury or otherwise, or were just reaching their peak, would now have another year to be able to perform and take advantage of their opportunity and their educational opportunity as well.
When was the last time the Carifta Games was not held?
Not here or not held?
Not held.
The Carifta Game has always been held. I think in the late 70s, there was a deliberate decision to move the games later on, which I think was somewhere in May or June, simply because at the end of the day, and this was specifically in Barbados as a matter of fact, because the hotel rates were very, very expensive, and Mr. Austin Seeley and his crew took a decision to have this discussion, and member federations were made aware of it, I think a year and a half prior to, so it was not something that happened haphazardly. So this, that was deliberate. So this is the first time that the Carifta Games would have been postponed unexpectedly.
And finally, you're president of NACAC. That entails a lot of traveling. I notice now that you're doing a lot of conference calls. Is that now the plan?
Well, certainly this situation warrants that, but I will tell you, we had our first Zoom conference meeting with the membership, all executives, and that was a 3-hour meeting that we had with Zoom, and so that worked out very, very well, and also you can imagine how cost-effective it was. So we'll be looking towards doing more of that kind of stuff as that years goes by.
An encouraging words you want to tell the athletes? Keep training, well, stay focused.
Yeah, I'd say like my mother used to tell us when we were small. She said when hurricanes were coming, and of course, you know, you heard that every year, you prepare for the worst, but you pray and hope for the best.
Mike Sands joining us this morning on the Morning Edition. Once again, the Carifta Track and Field Championship may be held earlier this year. That is not confirmation, but you'll have to stay with ZNet Toll Sports. We'll be the first to break it to you. Once again, the International Olympic Committee having an emergency meeting on Tuesday. From there, we should get a clear understanding, as many of the athletes around the world are not getting into the qualification round, so they'll be looking to see what happens with that. And that's going to do it for sports. Thanks for watching, everybody. The Morning Edition returns right after this break.